Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Saturday, November the 9th. It's race number 9 at Aqueduct. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 2, $300,000 Red Smith. We're going 1.375 miles on the inner turf. Field of 9 entered for the Red Smith, one of 2 graded stakes races carded for turf at Aqueduct on Saturday. Remember to access free formulator pass performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Take a peek, handicap along with us. Shug McGay, he has 2 in here. Integration, the number 2, looks like the horse to beat.
Yeah, I wonder if he is. I had a tough time deciding who the horse to beat was in here, Dan. It could be Integration for sure. Limited Liability, the other Shug's off of a really strong performance, albeit going long at Kentucky Downs. Masterpiece won this race last year. He's been holding his form too. I thought those 3 were pretty well matched.
It's a turf race in New York, so we don't expect there to be much pace. And when you look over this field, it's not like there are any blazers. We'll throw up our Timeform US pace projector and the number 1 Curbstone, who pulled off a shocking upset going 2 miles at Far Hills in New Jersey last time out, or at least ran second at 59-1 that day. That horse is expected to get to the front. I have no idea who's leading.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think Curbstone, I guess if they run here, they just sort of try to use his speed and see what happens. I don't outside of him, Dan, I don't really know how this pace is necessarily, going to play out. I suppose, Frankie had the right idea on Limited Liability last time and got him going in a much longer race. Maybe they'll go forward again.
We'll start things off with the number 1 Curbstone. Again, he was 59-1 last time out at Far Hills, and he went to the front. They took a chance, and he finished a good second to the Gray Wizard, who might very well be the best longer distance turf runner in the country right now. Maybe Silver Knots up there with him. Curbstone, that was just sort of came out of nowhere. Although his race in the John's Call, he was completely compromised by a lack of pace. He seems to be improving at these longer distant races, and maybe Johnny Veal back down the pace.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we know that you don't have to worry about distance with him. I don't know, Dan. I mean, I'm a Curbstone fan. I also just think he's a way better horse on dirt.
Integration began his career like he could be any kind for Shug McGahee. 3 consecutive Virginia Derby, Hill Prince. Since then, he's had his share of trips and he's had his share of good luck, and he hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle. I thought he had a very good trip and an easy edition of that Million preview. I thought in the Arlington Million, maybe he was a little bit compromised by a lack of pace and he was running on at the end. Last time out at Kentucky Downs, I'm not going to hold that race against Integration at all. It was at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I don't care about that one either. I'm still just struggling to. I'm a fan of his. And I think he's really talented. If I didn't say I was a little disappointed in him this year, I'd be lying. I thought he would have a really big campaign this year, and it just sort of hasn't happened for him. Not that he's run poorly, and I still just don't know. What's his best distance? Does he want to go shorter? Does he want to go longer? Is he more of a middle distance kind of horse? I don't know, man. You said that he's the horse to beat, and maybe he's even the most talented horse in the race. And I don't know if I would argue with those things. I just don't know if I want to bet him in here again if he's going to be some kind of short price.
He's expected to be a short price based on those gaudy buyers' speed figures. I agree with you. I think Shug's trying to figure out what sort of distances Integration's best. I think at least he showed he could compete going longer last time out over that undulating turf course. A race where the runner-up came back to win the Grade 3 Saranac with a 98 buyer. Pioneering Spirit is the number 3. This horse is going to make his first start for Rick Dutrow after being claimed for 62.5 out of this race. Really couldn't see much of an excuse here. Pioneering Spirit sat second in a race where the pace wasn't fast. They ran 1-2 all the way around the track, and he's got a big look at it.
Yeah, could have won here for sure. I mean, he has every chance to go by this horse on the lead, who was a bit of a long shot in this race too, at over 12-1. He just can't push on by here. Another horse who's, his campaign hasn't been terrible this year, hasn't been quite as good as the one he put together last year. I know he's off the claim for Dutrow here, so you have to, always keep that in mind. But I'll be honest, Dan, I'll be shocked if he's going to improve this horse off the work that Linda Rice did with him.
He does have good tactical speed, however, and a hint of back class. Linda got him good for a hot minute back in the day where he won the Bernard Baruch. City Man is the number 4, just a very likable New York bred who had the misfortune to face the best New York bred turf horse right now, Spirit of St. Louis. In this race, the Mohawk last time out. There wasn't a ton of pace. I thought City Man eventually got into a pretty good position. He's on the outside turning for home, and he's going to grind up and finish second. He's a millionaire. He's consistent. He always seems to show up with a good performance.
He does, and he's very tactical too, so he's going to get a good trip in this race. He runs well again in here, and he's just not quite good enough. He's holding his form, Dan, but it does feel like he's very clearly lost a step here. As a 7-year-old, he's a multiple graded stakes winner if you go back to 2022. He can go with these horses, or at least he could. I don't know if he can anymore.
The number 5, Limited Liability, Integration's uncoupled stablemate, trained by Shug McGahee, really seems to appreciate these longer distance races. He ran well against the Grey Wizard, although not good enough on conventional surfaces like the Belmont Gold Cup at Saratoga and the Cape Henlopen at Delaware. Frankie Dettori decided, let's just take the race to that horse last time out over the quirky Kentucky Downs track. This is a 2 miles and a 16th race, the Nashville Gold Cup. Frankie went to the front, the Grey Wizard took his shot at him, and Limited Liability is able to sprint on home.
It's good stuff here. It's unfortunate that it happens at Kentucky Downs, because you don't know if he's going to be able to reproduce his performance. Although I would just say, Dan, I mean, even though he couldn't beat the Grey Wizard 2 and 3 back, Limited Liability ran really well. And both of those races, you go back to the Fort Marcy when Masterpiece beat him. That trip didn't quite work out for him, man. That pace was slow early, and right when Limited Liability was making his move, that's when that pace really picked up and they started sprinting in front of him, and he just had no chance in there. This horse, he's in very, very good form. I'm very interested to see what Frankie does with him early in this race, going a shorter distance.
Chad Brown sends out the number 6, Sedamo. He won the Grade 1 United back in 2022, and since then it's been a really disappointing string of efforts, and now he's listed as a first-time gelding. He hasn't run since the 2024 edition of the United Nations, where he didn't do much running. He was wired that day, a race that featured 2 next out winners. One Far Bridge came back to win 2 Grade 1s. But Mike, you've pointed it out several times in the UN. You wanted to be inside in that race. Adamo was inside and he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he just didn't do any running in that spot. He's just been a disappointment since he got here, Dan. I mean, it seems like it's pretty rare that happens when these horses come over to join Chad Brown, but he's just one that never really panned out. He's run some good races. The distance is no issue for him. I suspect that if Irad wants to be more forward with him in here, he can be, and maybe he'll just get a really good trip in this race, but I'm not betting this horse.
The number 7, Daunt, goes out for an underrated barn, and he finished 4th last time out in the Pioneering Spirit race that we showed you. Do you think he was compromised by a lack of pace in that race? Again, they ran 1-2 around the track, and even if he was, is he really a graded stakes horse?
Yeah, he certainly has that to prove, Dan. I mean, yeah, was he compromised by pace last time? I guess he was. It wasn't necessarily a race where he wanted to be trying to make up ground, although, you know, it's not like he was a million lengths out of it either. And he just never really threatened in that spot. I do think Daunt's a little underrated. I still don't know if he's good enough to beat a field like this.
Masterpiece, as Mike mentioned in the Open, won this race last year, and he continued to show his affinity for turf racing at Aqueduct by winning the Fort Marcy during the spring. His most recent start was out in Southern California. Let's watch the John Henry Turf Championship. I thought Hernandez gave him a good trip. There wasn't a lot of pace in here. He got into the pocket. He's looking to get out. Cabo Spirit's a 25-1 shot that just was allowed to walk the dog on the lead. Masterpiece is still crying out for a little bit of room, Mike, and he's going to eventually finish 3rd. I wonder if he was a little bit unlucky. I know he wasn't completely blocked, but he was kind of just over and behind that horse the entire stretch.
Yeah, it's hard for horses to make up, to really accelerate when they're not seeing, daylight in front of them there, Dan. I don't think he ever really saw it. I thought he ran pretty well. And as a matter of fact, he didn't, they took him to California for the summer and he didn't win any of those races. I thought he ran pretty well, each and every time. To me, it just suggests he's holding his form. He's obviously 2 for 2 here at Aqueduct. He won this race last year when he got 2 big long shots to duel a good pace in front of him, but he took advantage and he got the job done. They came back for the Fort Marcy, perfect trip in there, but he ran really well again. He's just going to get another good trip in here, Dan. He's very dangerous.
He's just a hard hitter, and he seems a little bit pace adaptable for Dutrow, and maybe Dutrow will have Pioneering Spirit help set things up for him here. Rebel Red is the number 9. This horse is a lightly raced 4-year-old by Frankel, so obviously has a beautiful pedigree. He has a ton of upside potential and is coming into this race in good form after winning 2 of his last 3 starts. In this race, an allowance at Keeneland going 1 1/8. He's far back turning for home, but he also had a very healthy pace to attack, and these leaders are getting very tired.
They are. This is a nice run. He doesn't change his lead here, and he did, brush with that horse at the 3/16 pole. He just runs right over the top of these horses. This is a good performance. I think this horse is talented, Dan. And I'm not sure if this is the spot for him, and I'm not sure that stretching out is necessarily going to help him because he's related to some really good horses, but they're mostly horses that wanted to go a little bit shorter than this. So we'll see if he stretches out. This horse is talented. I just don't know if this is the right spot.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Saturday race of the day, the Red Smith. You're going with Masterpiece. He just can fall into any kind of a trip. He loves this surface. I think he kind of likes the softer turf courses here, although he ran very well in Southern California. He's a dangerous late threat.
Yeah, I think he is too. And I also didn't think he'd be the favorite in here, Dan. So that sort of swayed my opinion. So I'm just going to take him on top. It was hard for me to go against integration, but I'm kind of tired of him, Dan. He just hasn't delivered the way I thought he would this year.
Limited liability is a proven stayer, and he did get finally the Gray Wizard off his back last time out at Kentucky Downs, although it's just quite possible he really appreciated that surface. We have the same triple, different order. I'd use the top three in multis. 8259 for Mike, 5286 for me in the Red Smith, one of two graded stakes races at Aqueduct on Saturday. Good luck.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.